One colorful afternoon in magical Kitchen Town, the kitchen felt especially lively. Sunlight streamed through the window and painted warm golden patterns across the countertops while the fruit basket beat. Buzzed with cheerful chatter, apples rolled gently in their basket. Bananas leaned against each other lazily, and strawberries bounced excitedly while talking about their favorite desserts. Suddenly, the kitchen door creaked open and Candy Monster walked inside humming happily, rubbing his belly because he was very hungry for something sweet. Candy Monster loved candy more than anything in the world whenever he entered the kitchen. The first thing he did was search every corner for delicious treats. His eyes quickly scanned the cookie jar, the snack drawer, and the candy shelf. But today, something unusual caught his attention on the top shelf. There, sitting quietly between two jars, was a small glowing candy jar sparkling with rainbow light. Tiny colorful stars floated inside them. Jar like magical glitter, Candy Monster slowly reached up and carefully pulled the jar closer. Inside were several shiny candies, but one candy looked very different from the rest. The special candy glowed with swirling jelly colors that slowly moved like a tiny galaxy trapped inside the candy. Candy Monster turned the jar around and noticed a bright red label on the lid. The label said, "Warning, do not eat." Candy Monster blinked. He scratched his fluffy head. Then he smiled mischievously. Why would anyone make candy you're not supposed to eat? He wondered out loud. The candy sparkled brighter, almost as if it was inviting him to try it. The fruits in the basket noticed what was happening. The banana leaned forward nervously. "Maybe you should read the warning carefully," the apple suggested. But Candy Monster was already opening the jar. With a soft pop, the lid opened. The glowing candy rolled gently into Candy Monster's hand. It felt soft and squishy like jelly. Before anyone could stop him, Candy Monster tossed the candy straight into his mouth. For a moment, nothing happened. The kitchen became very quiet. Candy Monster swallowed. He shrugged. Then, suddenly, he felt a strange wobbly feeling inside his belly. His cheeks puffed out slightly. His arms stretched a little longer. Then suddenly, boing, Candy Monster bounced. Everyone jumped in surprise. Candy Monster looked down at himself and gasped. His entire body had turned into colorful wobbly jelly. His arms stretched like gummy candy. His belly wiggled like jelly dessert. When he tried to walk, boing, he bounced across the kitchen floor. The strawberry burst into laughter. The banana slipped slightly because Candy Monster's jelly body stretched across the counter like sticky candy. Candy Monster tried grabbing a spoon to steady himself, but his jelly arms stretched longer and longer until the spoon flew across the table. Soon the kitchen turned into complete jelly chaos. Candy Monster bounced onto the chair. Boing, he bounced onto the table. Boing, he bounced into the fruit basket. He tried to take a small step, but instead, he shot up to the ceiling, bouncing off the light fixture with a loud bonk. The light fixture swung back and forth, casting dancing shadows all over the kitchen. He landed on a pile of soft flour, sending a white cloud puffing into the air. When the flour settled, he looked like a spooky jelly ghost. The strawberries giggled, and the bananas wobbled with laughter. "You're a spooky ghost monster," one of them shouted. Trying to get the flour off, he shook his body, which made him jiggle and wobble even more uncontrollably. Boing! He bounced off the flour and slid right into the sink, which was full of bubbly soap water. Giant, shimmering bubbles started to float out of the sink, filling the kitchen with floating rainbow orbs. Candy Monster, now covered in bubbles, looked like a bubbly jelly creature from the sea. He blew a bubble from his mouth, and it floated up with the others. He tried to climb out of the sink, but his jelly hands couldn't get a grip. He just slipped and slid back down with a splash. The apples rolled to the edge of their basket to get a better look. He's having a bubble bath, they chimed. The banana, being the wisest of the fruits, had an idea. Let's make a fruit ladder, he announced. The other fruits cheered. The strawberries lined up. The apples stacked on top of each other, and the grapes formed a long chain. The banana carefully slid down the counter, holding onto the grape chain. He extended his hands to Candy Monster. Grab on, he said. Candy Monster reached out his wobbly jelly hand, but it stretched like a rubber band and then snapped back, splashing more water. This is not working, cried the banana as he got splashed. The orange, who had been quiet until now, rolled forward. I have an idea. Let's use the dish towel as a rope. The fruits worked together to push the dish towel towards the sink. It dangled just above Candy Monster's head. Grab the towel, the orange yelled. Candy Monster jumped, and this time he managed to grab the end of the towel. The fruits all pulled together, grunting and groaning with the effort. Slowly, inch by inch, they pulled the wobbly, slippery Candy Monster out of the sink. He landed on the floor with a soft, squishy sound. Hooray! The fruits all cheered. Candy Monster, still dripping with bubbles, gave them a wobbly, grateful smile. First, his toes started to feel solid again. He wiggled them, and they didn't stretch. Then, the feeling moved up his legs. They became less wobbly and more sturdy. He tried taking a small step, and this time, he didn't bounce. He just took a normal step. The fruits watched in amazement. He's turning back. The strawberries shouted with joy. His belly, which had been wobbling like a giant jelly, slowly firmed up. He patted it, and it felt like his normal, fluffy belly again. His arms, which had been stretching and flopping all over the place, returned to their normal size and shape. He could finally clench his fists and feel his own strength again. His head, which had been wobbling on his jelly neck, now sat firmly on his shoulders. He shook his head from side to side, and it didn't feel like it was going to fly off. The last part to change back was his face. His cheeks, which had been puffed out and wobbly, returned to their normal, huge shape. He could smile a proper, big, happy smile again, without his whole face jiggling, bowing. The apples rolled around laughing while the banana tried helping Candy Monster stand still. But every time he tried to stop bouncing, his jelly body wobbled again like a giant gummy toy. At one point, Candy Monster stretched so wide that he accidentally formed a jelly bridge between the counter and the table. The strawberry carefully bounced across his stretchy arm like a trampoline. Everyone laughed so hard that even the spoon rack started shaking. But soon Candy Monster realized that being made of jelly was not as fun as it looked. He couldn't hold objects properly. He couldn't walk normally, and every step made him bounce uncontrollably. The banana quickly grabbed the jar and examined the label again. Under the big warning text was a tiny sentence that said, "This candy temporarily turns the eater into jelly until the sparkle fades." Everyone looked at Candy Monster. Tiny glowing sparkles were floating inside his jelly body. Slowly, the sparkles began fading. The bouncing became smaller. The jelly wobbles started disappearing. Candy Monster's arms slowly returned to normal. His belly stopped wobbling. And finally, Candy Monster stood normally again. The fruits cheered happily. Candy Monster looked at the empty jar and laughed. "I guess the warning was there for a reason," he said. From that day on, Candy Monster promised to always read the warning labels before eating magical candy, because in Magical Kitchen Town, even the smallest candy can turn the kitchen into the wildest adventure. And somewhere on the kitchen shelf, another mysterious candy jar quietly sparkled, waiting for the next curious snack lover.